Hi, so welcome to the third video where we'll take a look on what to do with the lab we just deployed. So just to remind you what we did in the first video, we covered how to get the parent disks and your DC, basically how to get this folder. In the second video, we covered how to deploy the lab. It was just simple, right-clicking on deploy and running with PowerShell and then waiting for 8.5 minutes. And as a result, we have here these 5 machines. We have a DC and then 4 machines. So let's log in into the DC to take a look what's in there. So this is basically fresh DC. We just hydrated, never logged in into. It was provisioned by the PowerShell DSC. During the second step or during the deployment step, it was just imported. So it was super fast to deploy. So I will just log in. So now we will be using the password, which is specified in the lab config. Remember from the last video, we cannot change it now because we would have to, if you would like to change it, we would have to rehydrate the domain controller, and it's the second step in the scripts. You can either log in with the administrator or with the lab admin. I prefer administrator just because one thing. If you logged in, see, we don't have enhanced session mode yet. If you log in with the administrator, you will immediately see this pop-up. If you log in with the lab admin, you have to log in, then log off, and then you will see the pop-up as the enhanced session mode will kick in. So ls1 setup exclamation mark. Now what we will need is to turn on the machines because they are still turned off. So we'll just go here and select the VMs. Right click and click on start. So as you can see now, we are logged in into the DC. Machines are started. These are nano servers. It was quite fast. It was a bit slower because I'm now recording. And now what we need is to go to the GitHub page where the lab is hosted. And step 6 actually tells you that you should continue with some S2D hyper-converged scenario. So let me explain you what a scenario is and how to work with it. So scenario is what I keep in PowerShell scripts. Scenario has 2 parts. One part is the config. Config is should look like this. This is just multi-line. This is just multiple lines. We saw it in the last video that it was in the 2 lines, but it's basically exact the same. This is the same one as it's in the lab config. So you can either copy it or keep it the same because it will not change anything. If you would like to use different scenario, for example, there is a scenario for PowerShell DSC. You could go to the scenarios, to the PowerShell DSC. Come on, where is my scenarios? Here. Scenarios. Labs on Nano. This is where it's DSC. I call it also a DSC lab because everything is configured here with the DSC. And here is an example of the lab config VMs. So what you can do, you can just copy these lines like this and just add it into the lab config. So yeah, remember our 100 VMs, it's probably not a good idea. So you can either say keep it same as 4 or just comment the block. If you're creating the fresh lab, you can just comment the block, and it means that these machines will be ignored and not deployed. And if you would like to just extend the lab, you can just save it like this, and the machines that are not yet in the lab will be just added. So you can just close it like this and deploy it. But we will return back to our original scenario. I don't want to do anything like that. I would like to do all just my four machines. So don't have to modify anything, it's already there. So let me get back to the S2D Hyper-converged. There's a script. I told you that it has two parts. One part is the lab config, which is this one or this one. Basic, if you would like to use nested virtualization or not. For example, nested virtualization just adds the nested virt equals true and some memory startup bytes, so you can run some VMs. And then you need to do is paste the PowerShell, paste the script into the PowerShell. So let me just copy this and the portion of the script. See, it's just copied. And what I will do, I will just run the PowerShell like this. And because we are using built-in administrator, it's automatically elevated, so you don't have to run as administrator. But if you would use the different account like labadmin, you would have to run it as an administrator. Otherwise, the script would fail. And now it's in the clipboard. So you could, in theory, just say Control plus V, but I will just right-click with the mouse. And this way, it will paste the script that you will be able to read and see what is happening. This script will now take like 12 minutes, so I'll just pause the recording and see you soon. So as you can see, the script just finished. It took a bit longer. That's because I'm also recording the screen and the software is taking probably too much. So it took like 18 minutes or 19 minutes. So let's take a look what's there. So we should see that failover cluster manager should be able to connect to the failover cluster. There are two ways, right? You can connect this way by just right-clicking and connect to the cluster, hit browse, and select your cluster. Or what you can do, you can add your servers by right-clicking, add servers in server manager, find it this way, select all the servers, including the cluster. If you don't include the cluster, it will be added automatically because the cluster is detected on the machines. Once the machines are here, you just right-click and select failover cluster manager, and the failover cluster manager will open. So let's explore the cluster. As you can see, storage spaces direct is enabled. So let's expand roles. There is no role yet. You would have to add your machine, virtual machine, because the virtual machine would appear here. We can see that there are 4 nodes. Each node has its own vote. That's because we have already witness configured as a file share witness, which is now sitting on a DC. And in the storage you can see that we have one big pool. The pool has like 200 terabytes of the storage. It consists of all the physical disks visible from all the machines. So every machine sees every disk. That's because of new storage bus layer. And then we have 4 disks. 4 multi-resiliency virtual disks, and each of disks has 10 terabytes of storage, as you can see here. The networking is very simple. The connections are just themed, so there's just set switch and then just one network adapter. So I hope you enjoyed and see you next time.